You know, on the cricket field, a dive for a catch is something we see all the time. It's just pure athleticism. But what if I told you that one of these totally routine plays sent a world-class athlete straight to the ICU with a life-threatening injury? Well, that's exactly what happened. This is the incredible story of how a simple catch almost turned into a tragedy, and it's all because of a tiny, hidden organ you might not even think about. So let's just dive right into the big question here. How on earth can a simple catch, an action that happens thousands of times in cricket, land a professional player in the intensive care unit? I know, it sounds almost impossible, right? But the answer is hidden deep inside the human body and a place that's supposed to be protected by our own ribcage. Okay, so let's set the scene. We're talking about the journey from a catch to the ICU. The cricketer is Shreyas Iyer. And to really get what happened to him, we need to look at the exact moment of impact. So as Iyer dives for the ball, his body just slams into the ground. Now that force didn't just stop at the surface. Nope. It sent this powerful shockwave right through his body, creating a massive impact directly on his ribs. This wasn't about a broken bone. Something way more dangerous was happening on the inside. That blunt force trauma caused an internal organ to start bleeding. And when you're bleeding internally, your body just goes into full-on crisis mode. His vital signs, his blood pressure, his heart rate, they just started to plummet. And that is an incredibly dangerous, life-threatening situation that needs doctors fast. So, what was this mystery organ that caused all this chaos? Well, it's time to meet the hidden hero and, in this case, the victim of our story, the spleen. And hey, if you've never really heard of it or thought about it, that's totally fine. But you're about to find out just how critical it really is. Your spleen is kind of tucked away in the upper left part of your abdomen. But here's what's so wild about this. Look where it is. It's protected behind ribs 9, 10, and 11. That's the exact spot that took the hit during Iyer's dive. The body's natural armor just wasn't quite enough to handle that shock. And for all the trouble it can cause, the spleen itself isn't very big at all. To give you an idea, it's roughly the size of an avocado. Small, right? But as we're about to see, it is an incredibly mighty and absolutely essential little organ. So what does this avocado-sized organ actually do? Well, it turns out it has 3 super important jobs that are keeping you alive and healthy every single day. Think of it as a filter, a trainer, and a bank. Okay, first, it's your body's master blood filter. Every single second, it's cleaning your blood, yanking out old, worn-out red blood cells and recycling the iron inside them. Pretty cool. Second, it's the boot camp for your immune army. This is where your white blood cells get trained to hunt down and destroy nasty bacteria and viruses. And third, it's your own personal emergency blood bank. The spleen holds on to a backup supply of blood, ready to release it in a crisis, like a car accident, to help keep you going. So a filter, a training center, and a blood bank, all packed into one small organ. All right, now that we know how important the spleen is, let's look at the injury itself. Because when the spleen gets hit hard, there are 2 main types of injuries. And the difference between them is quite literally a matter of life and death. And this lays it out perfectly. On one side, you have a laceration. Think of it like a cut on the organ. It's bad for sure, it causes serious internal bleeding, but it's something that can hopefully be managed and controlled. But on the other side, you have a rupture, and that is catastrophic. The organ literally bursts apart. We're talking massive, often uncontrollable bleeding. So, with those 2 terrifying possibilities on the table, which one did Shreyas Iyer have? Well, thankfully, even in this incredibly scary situation, there was some very, very good news. Doctors confirmed he had a spleen laceration. It was a cut, not a full rupture. And that meant that even though the bleeding was severe enough to be life-threatening, it wasn't the absolute worst-case scenario. The organ itself was still in one piece. And because it was a laceration, the medical team in the ICU was able to work their magic. They got the situation under control, they stopped the internal bleeding, and they stabilized him, pulling him back from the brink. And the best news of all, Shreyas Iyer is now medically stable and recovering well. It's a story that started with a terrifying moment on the field, but ended with amazing medical care and really just a huge sense of relief for everyone. What an incredible story. It just shows you how fragile and at the same time how amazingly resilient the human body can be. And it really leaves you with one final thought. The spleen is just one of these hidden, powerful organs working 24/7 inside you. What other vital parts are keeping you going right now that you've never even stopped to think about?